What's up, everybody? We are finally back. Welcome to Unlocking Kingdom Hearts. I am your host, Cameron Hawkins, and with me is the OG crew, as always, Jonathon Dornbush, Alexa Ray Korea, and Kevin Diaz. Jonathan, how you doing? It's been a long...
I'm doing good. I like that you said the OG crew as if we weren't going to all be replaced by, like, Saved by the Bell of the new school. Like, just a whole
we gotta...
cast. Yeah.
I had to do something. I had to do something here, but we're finally back, and that's really exciting. I'm sure there are people that have been listening to this podcast and are like, "Oh, they stopped. They're not coming back. They gave up on us." No, we weren't giving up on you. We're just all really busy. It's really hard to get four people that have completely different lives, completely different jobs to come together and do something, even if it is for a couple of hours. So, yeah, Alexa, how are you?
I am so ready to talk about this specific entry in this series.
I know you are. I know you are. You said it for the past 2 or 3 episodes. Like, I can't wait for us to get the dream drop. And Kevin, how are you?
Doing good. This game went again to it, but this one pushed me to my limits, man. I was really bringing in the pressure, but we here, we good, doing good. New crib since we last recorded. Which is
if you're watching on video, Kevin's in a new place. I feel like Jonathan's background's a little updated too.
I don't know if I've recorded in this house. It's possible
did you move?
This apartment we've not recorded in.
Oh, okay, so, yeah. It looks similar, but I could tell it was different too. So.
Yeah, it's a little bit. There's more bookshelves because I ran out of space for all my crap. So that's basically
Yes. Yeah. I can relate. I have so much stuff.
Yeah, you wouldn't know it.
I can't even put anywhere.
Cam, I'm always like, bro, like when you move, like that's gotta be like a feat.
Which I am moving. I am moving soon.
Yes.
Oh, I am moving soon. So yes. Man. So we will see what that looks like. But yes, I am dreading packing up all of this. If you are watching the video, the background is crazy.
I am digital games. I try to keep as little stuff as possible. Like. Oof, man. Yeah,
I get it. I get it. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. We are talking this episode about Kingdom Hearts 3D Dream Drop Distance. And Jonathan, I'm gonna let you start this one. What are your thoughts? General thoughts on Dream Drop Distance? This is Sora and Riku. They're taking the Mark of Mastery exam. Yensid's like, yo, there are these sleeping worlds. We need you to wake them up. We need you to wake them up and come back. And if you come back, I will mark you. I'll give you the Mark of Mastery. You're a Keyblade Master, as if Sora does not deserve that several times already. But yeah, Jonathan, what are your thoughts on Dream Drop Distance?
I'm glad we finally have gone into the third dimension with the franchise, that we've put all the 2D entries behind us, and it's finally... It's not my favorite. I think we'll probably have a lot to talk about here. This one, I appreciated at the time it first came out, what some of the things it was trying to do. I like the sort of ethos in general we've talked about in the past of the franchise, attempting to use the platforms it's on to do different things, to try out different mechanics, to try out all those different ideas. I think here are some of the ideas that don't work for me the most. And a lot of that, I think one of the biggest things for me is the pacing of the back and forth really doesn't work for me, especially when the game, and we'll obviously get more into detail, but like forcibly pulls that out, that control away from you is one of my like biggest frustration points. I have a soft spot for the world picks, even if the worlds themselves are not like the most interestingly put together worlds. I did just like having some Hunchback of Notre Dame representation here. That's just a small victory for me, as a big fan of that movie. But yeah, I'm very, very mixed. This one definitely falls lower on the tier for me. I think it was, just to wrap things up, I think it was a game I was really looking forward to because it felt like, oh, here we're going to get more progress on the story. We're going to really push things further. We're going ahead of 2. Like, we're going to see where things are really leading. And it feels like stretching out a very small plot point to a very large experience. And that for me just kind of like in retrospect and then revisiting it didn't sit super well with me as a like cohesive, engaging experience. I still think there are aspects of it I really enjoy, but it is definitely lower on the tier list for me for this franchise.
Yeah, I remember when this game came out, it felt like it was a long time for a new Kingdom Hearts game when it really wasn't. It was like 3 years, right? I think it came out in 2013, Dream Drop Distance. And Birth by Sleep came out in 2010, and we got recoded. So like, it wasn't that long, but it felt. I think that we just were ready to get back to like Sora and Riku and like post Kingdom Hearts 2, like stuff that really mattered. And I don't know about y'all, but like this was the game that got me to buy a 3DS. Like I still think that now, like in retrospect, the 3DS has a phenomenal library. Especially if you love JRPGs, like 3DS has an incredible library, a bunch of great games, and then Dream Drop later got the remaster treatment and the 2.8 collection, and yeah, I think that at the time we were really excited about this game because we were finally kind of getting back to the thick of it, and the results for this series kind of varied, and I'm gonna let Kev say his thoughts before I continue what I was gonna say.
Yeah, like with this game, it is definitely not my favorite for sure, and I feel like there's a lot of just very heightened positives that I have, somewhat heightened positives, and then just a lot of obviously the inverse where we got some negatives in this game, but I do appreciate where we end off in this game. I do like where we end up, right? I like these different, like things that I really wasn't, I didn't expect to end up where we were at, where kind of, Sora in quotes kind of like failed, and he didn't really necessarily win in this game per se, right? But love seeing Riku shine, you know what I'm saying? Love that. Love how much it's, I mean, what I presume is them very much leading you into Kingdom Hearts 3. Is it this game or am I getting it? Yeah, no, it's this game, right?
This game more or less sets up for Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah. It feels very much like that. I grew to appreciate the something motion mechanic for the flow motion, thank you, where you're able to bounce off walls. I thought that was a neat way of using those combat spaces within this game for sure, that I wasn't too crazy about, but then after like I really began to grow more used to them and really found them very effective. I don't like how this game throws a lot at you at the beginning. I think it's very they throw a lot at the player, at least like early on, that you got to really focus up and understand, okay, this is what this is doing, this is what that's doing. Like I feel like it's a lot. I don't like the Pokemon-esque like mechanic to this game. Not my favorite. And there's like more that we will get into, but overall, I found what I liked. I think the game definitely has a very steep point where if you wasn't doing the upgrades, if you wasn't doing a ton of the side stuff, you will get mopped. But overall, I enjoyed where we left off, right? And I think more about that than the bad aspects of this game, if that helps in any case towards this game. So it is what it is, certainly was a dream, certainly was a dream.
Yeah, I think I think how I see Dream Drop Distance, both like bias and removing my bias, is that I think it's arguably the most divisive game in the series. I think like the two that are mostly brought up in that space is Dream Drop and Chain of Memories. I think Chain of Memories is fantastic. Like I love the card system. I love the story, the characterization, the character work. All like I love it all. The one con about it is that you're basically experiencing Kingdom Hearts 1 again.
Right.
Everything else about it is chef's kiss for me. But I feel like that those who are not that they enjoy Kingdom Hearts, but they're not like really into it the way that me, Jonathan, and Alexa are. That they're gonna be like, the card system really like puts a bad taste in my mouth. I really don't know if I can continue playing this game. Like, I might just watch the cutscenes and move on. While on the flip side, when it comes to Dream Drop Distance, is that like the story stuff really is an issue for a lot of Kingdom Hearts fans because it recanonizes a lot of stuff to make the rest of the story that Nomura wants to tell make sense, but it retroactively like hurts a lot of really strong story stuff that we came to fall in love with over the, at that point, basically a decade, right? It was like 10-year anniversary when Dream Drop originally came out. But the combat, I think, is really, really great.
Yeah,
like, I think that it's one of the better combat experiences in the series. I still love Birth by Sleep like more than Dream Drop, of course, because like I think the story's phenomenal. I think but my main gripe about it is that like aerial combat in that game is like really bad. I don't even want to say like it's not great. It's bad, and I'm wondering if that was just the PSP technology at the time where it just couldn't make that work. But in the 3DS, being more modern at the time, it felt really good. The combat felt really good. And I was like, dang, I wish Birth by Sleep felt this good. Because then it would be just like, again, just a 10 out of 10 game, basically, in my eyes. And so for me, I can see why like some people might find 3D divisive because, gameplay's great, but story stuff is like, not great about that. But then Chain of Memories is like, the story's really great, but I'm not great with the card system. I don't really dig the card system. And so, I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts, my base level thoughts. We're not going to get into specifics yet. But that's kind of how I feel about Dream Drop and just like comparing to the series as a whole. Alexa, base level Dream Drop Distance thoughts. We'll dig in after. We'll dig in after.
I really, really dislike this game. Like, it is I think combat is passable, but like for me, it's the Dream Eater system. It's the drop system, which like screwed me over on more than one occasion. It's the complete, like, this was the game where all the we started to notice that the Final Fantasy stuff was starting to really get stripped out. I know we had the World Ends With You characters, but like the World Ends With You is a cult classic, but it wasn't like the franchise powerhouse that Final Fantasy was. So there's that choice. And then I just have so many, like, again, as a storyteller who can't enjoy anything, I really hated the story. I just felt like up to this point, like for a whole decade, they had spent a whole decade laying out this story, and we get to a point where and you've already mentioned this already, like Sora has saved the known universe several times. I think you can say, yeah, I think you know what you're doing with a Keyblade. We're gonna give you this arbitrary test though because the fucking adult said so. Which really, to me, was like a weird choice. And then I hate more than anything, the narrative conceit that I cannot abide by is time travel.
Yes.
So that's
what we've been alluding to, you, Kevin, throughout a few episodes, is that they introduced time travel in the 7th entry of this series.
I literally, when that reveal was made, I will never forget this. I paused the game and I put my 3DS down, and I had to like get up and walk outside and just like stare into oblivion for a minute because I was just like, I can't believe they did this. I hate this. This is lazy. This is stupid. And like time travel to me is such a lazy narrative conceit when you are running out of ideas and or you have killed off or functionally put away a lot of other characters and you don't know where to go from there. Time travel is a really easy, lazy way to start, or also multiverse travel, because now that's super popular in things like now with the MCU and whatnot. It's a really lazy way to be like, we can have our cake and eat it too, and bring everybody we like back, and now they're all going to be together in one spot at once. You can imagine how time travel affects what we get in Kingdom Hearts 3. But to me, it was just infuriating, and I like almost tapped out at that point. I was like, this is so lazy, and this feels so weird and so wrong, and like what we had known up until this point about Xehanort's character and where he'd been and his machinations, adding in like that time travel loop of the insinuation is that he came back and told his younger self, hey, you gotta be this person and do all of these things. Like, that's a weird closed loop that has no beginning, and it's just like, I don't know. It was just so freaking lazy to me. Like, I famously, we were talking about this earlier, this is my first professional game review for Polygon, was Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, and I gave it a 5. I really, really, really did not like it. That's my high level.
No, for sure. I think the one question I have is that when Cam brought up that this game is very divisive amongst the fan base, right? Like it's this or Chain of Memories.
Yeah.
Are the points that Alexa laid out, are those the shared, like, do people also cite those things as why, or is it just not, are they different thoughts, like, or is it pretty much par for the course, like from what Alexa laid out, like that's a shared, like disagreement with bringing things like time travel, etc., like this and the third.
From my experience, there are Kingdom Hearts, like massive Kingdom Hearts fans, like the three of us, that recognize the issues with that and like how it really ruins. Like I don't want to even use the word ruin, but it does. It like
no, you're right.
No, I mean
it removes consequence. There's no consequence if you can just go back in time, reach through time, bring back like all of Organization 13, have 3 different versions of Xehanort and the Riku replica and freaking Ansem and Xemnas and every single fucking version that you can like possibly have together, and every single character and all the Lost Masters and blah, 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 blah. Like there's no consequence to death, and this is like I equate what is like, think of, for people that are not as in tune with the Kingdom Hearts fandom, the analogy that I'm going to make here is Star Wars. Star Wars, up until The Acolyte, had a really difficult problem with not truly killing off characters. People would get resurrected, second chance, Force ghosts, blah, blah, blah. Like, there's no consequence to death, really, in that universe. And this is what this has brought up. There's no consequence to death. Your fabric of your being can just be infinitely split and recompiled in various ways, in various places, and your consciousness can be split, and you can time travel. And we were already dealing with that really convoluted thing of like the nobody and the heartless and the person, and what happens when it splits and all that. And when you kill them both, you get the person back, I guess, and all of this stuff. So introducing time travel into it is just so messy, so messy.
Yeah,
that's why I hate it.
And it's not, that's like the time travel stuff is like, for me, is like base level issue with this game. There's more specific story stuff that I really take issue with. Specifically, basically finding out that all of the stuff that like Ansem and Xemnas, like their motivations that we are seeing or shown in the first 2 games, that's all not true. That's all. Oh no, the plan was no. That wasn't the plan. The plan was like, our motivations weren't that. It was actually to get all 13 darknesses and get everyone. No, it wasn't. It obviously was not. And it's just like, you ruined, like. In for me, Xemnas is like one of my favorite villains or antagonists, whatever you want to say, ever. And then because like he was a villain that you could relate to, where he's just like, I want to feel, I want to know what it's like to be human, or like, you know, and to be my my own self. And I was just like, damn, I feel you, dog. And then it's just like, oh no, that's not true. That's not what the plan was this entire time. It's just like, no, dog, that's messed up. And like it just really put a bad taste in my mouth. And I just
It pulls the rug out from under a lot of the themes, like you were mentioning. I want to feel, I want to be human, all that stuff. Like, what does it mean? A big question the series asks is like, what are you, and what does it mean to exist? Is it you? Is it the memories of you within the people around you? Is it the reflection of you against other? Like, what is it? Like, that's like such a huge thesis of this series, and doing that pulls so much away from what that theme was. And then we start doing this arbitrary stuff like, oh, you just brought up the other thing, the 13 darknesses and the 7 lights. And now we have these arbitrary numbers and these arbitrary numbers of people. And it's just like, everyone gets a Keyblade now. Like, here you go, Kyrie. Here you go, Axel. Like, here, like, everyone now can do it. And all of a sudden, the act of being a Keyblade wielder and the reason why we're fighting, like, none of it is meaningful or special anymore. Like, those first games set up Sora as, like, he is so fucking special because he's able to use this Keyblade, and he's also a, like, you know, a connective tissue for all of people in these worlds. Like, he is very, very special because of the kind of person that he is. And then, you know, bringing Riku into the fold as well, I think was inevitable. Like, they had to give it to him. It was meant for him, all of that stuff. But then having these two very strong characters that are like the hero characters, and then being like, everyone gets a Keyblade now, and everyone gets a chance to fight, and everyone gets to do it. It diminishes so many of the bigger plot points, like thinking about how Roxas was special because he was Sora's nobody, so he could use Keyblades, and that's why Xemnas wanted him. And then they copied Sora and made Xion because she could use a Keyblade, because being able to use the Keyblade was the special thing that they needed. And now it's not special anymore. And now we can just jump through time and pull whoever we want out of wherever and have them here. It's incredibly infuriating in the number of heartfelt things it negates from earlier in the series. It's just, and then the series from here, Kevin, like, I would argue that 3D was the turning point. The series is so different from here on out. It is so different. With one exception, which is 0.2. And I think everything else is a vastly different thing.
Yeah. I Jonathan, you haven't talked in a minute. Please.
I didn't want to interrupt. How could I interrupt that?
No, go ahead.
No, I think I would also say, even as probably someone who accepts time travel BS maybe a little bit more, I am sensing, than Alexa might, I still feel very similarly along those lines. I think it also, I think one of the frustrating things for me, I'm trying to wrap my head around saying something that I think would add to it, because I think you summed it up so perfectly. But I think one of those frustrating things too with this game that happened was, it also feels like it has a sense that what it's doing is really important. So when it is doing this thing that is undermining and is lessening the stuff that came before it, it then further leaves like a disinterest in, one, wanting to return to it, but two, kind of like accepting some of the changes that it makes for me. I think, you know, there is a time and a place very much for, and you can do plot lines that do work very well around the idea of, like, I mean, you know, like the Spider-Verse movies have done, of anyone can wear the mask. I think there is a time and a place where those ideas of, like, anyone can have this power can work really well, and do work and should work really well. But as both of you have been pointing out, like, because of everything this franchise has been setting up, because of all the rules that have been put in place, because of the way it treated Sora and Riku, and you know, so on and so forth, it created this idea of that importance, of that singularity with these individuals. And then so to come in and take that away, while yes, it's cool from a, like, fan servicey, if you don't think about the implications sort of mind of, like, yeah, it's cool that there's a lineup now, it loses that when you start to really pick apart at that. And I think that's one of the frustrations, because it feels like something that I can see how the idea that image or that idea of a lineup like this and putting a number to it makes it feel important and makes it feel cool and interesting as a fan. But when you start to investigate how that relates to everything that came before it, it doesn't hold water in the way that it should. Yeah.
I think one question I have for everyone, right? So it's clear that this is a very different Kingdom Hearts game, right? And what you said, Alexa, from here on out, like it is a different era, a different phase of Kingdom Hearts. Do we ultimately, by the time I beat Kingdom Hearts 3, will I see the reason? Is there like a clear reason to this? Oh, that's tough.
Yes. No.
There's a reason, but like, is it?
It's capitalism. It's capitalism, Kevin. The reason is capitalism. The reason. No. I swear to God. The reason is stretching this series because I think. Oh my God, we're not talking about 3. Zip it. I truly think this is where the franchise went. Okay, how do we keep adding to this? And while there are still some really strong nuggets in gameplay, in how the Disney properties are used, and in some of the writing and some of the story, I still think there's a lot of good stuff coming up in the series and in the series after this. But I think this was the turning point where I had a moment where I was like, oh, I see what's going on here. They are trying to just like keep this train going for as long as they can, and they're looking for ways to like pack it, to add on to it, to like put stuff in it. And like Nomura has been, when he did like 358 over 2 days, that very much was sort of like a retcon, a story that was slotted in to all of the other games in a way where it could stand alone, but added to everything. But it wasn't packed with like crazy implications and stuff. Like it didn't undermine any of the things that he's already been trying to set up, despite there being a new character that everyone conveniently forgets. Like that was really tight. It was really well done. Yeah. And this one, to me, I just think it gets really sloppy after this. And there's a whole bunch of like, even with 3 done, like we all as a fandom still have so many unanswered questions, or so many things that are still not answered. And the setup for 4 makes me really want to tear my hair out, but we're not talking about that today. And I just think that it went down a dark road, if you will, trying to hold on to longevity. And the way you do that is you constantly have new shit popping up, and you make sure that longtime fans are still seeing the things that they love. And I think they equated that with like characters. Oh, they love the organization members. Let's bring them all back. Like, oh, they loved Xion. Like everyone's obsessed with Xion, so let's bring her back and make her a real girl. Like all of that stuff. Like it's just so I don't know. It's lazy, and I don't like it. And I love this series. And Nomura, if you're listening, I'm so sorry, but I just feel like this was a really strong play of like, you have to make something that is going to fill the space while we are working on the bigger stuff, which was Point 2, which was the first game done in Unreal, so it looked, different, and then 3, and then beyond, and it was just really disappointing. I don't know.
Yeah, not trying to completely say one for one of what Alexa's saying, but this especially once you play Kingdom Hearts 3, right. You see the story in like Union Cross and Dark Road, because there are like significant revelations that happen in those stories about certain characters that we already know about, that really shows that at some point and maybe it is capitalism, maybe it was Nomura not knowing where, like, how he could take the story that he wanted to take with everything that he already set up, and he just like decided, I'm either going to do this and retcon things to make the story that I'm thinking of work, or I'm going to keep trekking with what's already been established and make something that may not be as impactful in hindsight. I really don't know, but this is the game that it's clear that he like made some like very foundational changes that really that we all, that you only know some of, we know all of, that just really just retroactively makes so many powerful moments in the series like basically not matter anymore in the grand scheme of this of Kingdom Hearts story. Like it'll like things will still, that'll mean something to me personally, but like when it comes to the story, it's like why do this when you already did this, that you already made like such a clear statement with this thing, but now you're basically saying like, oh, that's not actually a thing anymore, and now we're doing this. And it's really upsetting. It's really upsetting. Again, like we all love Kingdom Hearts. We're always gonna like be along for the ride, but this is where the train takes a weird turn, and it's
interesting.
I hope that Kingdom Hearts 4 allows Nomura to kind of hit a reset button on some of these things. Some of the stuff like will just be what it is, but like there's a lot of things that I hope that he can just we can just like move on from and just like pretend it's not a thing anymore, and just let Nomura cook again. But yeah, I think that the next that 3D and Kingdom Hearts 3, without saying aspects, like did not meet expectations. And the Remind DLC, again, without saying specifics, I think did help Kingdom Hearts 3. But what?
There was a...
Well, Alexa.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Kevin, I saw it.
There was like an emoji, like thumbs up.
What?
It came from the ether. I don't know what happened. It came from the ether.
Yeah,
okay.
There was a graph. There was a graphic of it. Anyway,
Okay. Anyway,
I know it's like a Mac thing.
Discord do that now?
I know it's like a Mac.
Yeah, I didn't know Discord did that.
No, it's like a Mac thing. Like I know, like if I make a heart in theory, like. Yeah.
Oh my god, that's crazy! He just made a heart and it appeared on screen. Okay, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you're watching the video,
podcast.
I hate it
everybody.
here.
Kingdom Hearts.
No,
yeah,
you're right.
so
Everything.
Yeah, I'm just very curious.
Everything you're saying is correct.
That are listening to this series as they're playing through the series for the first time, like Kevin. I'm very curious as to like what their thoughts are on this game and like how they're gonna feel about the series moving forward.
Sorry, I'm just writing
but and another thing that I want to say, a specific thing, is that like I really, because after this we can get into like the worlds and we can get into like more of the non-story stuff. I really think this should have been a Riku only game. I think this should have been a game where it's just Riku. I think that, and obviously like they would have had to rework the game and the story for it to work that way. I'm not saying that they could easily just be like the game as it is, Sora's not a thing and it's just Riku. But like I think that there could have been a way where this could have been a Riku only game. And that's the thing, that's, as someone who is a Riku stan, Riku's my favorite video game character of all time. I got his Keyblade on my arm, like all this stuff. Like, I think that Nomura with this game and moving forward, well, I think this game they do them right. I do like what they do with Riku in this game. But like moving forward into Kingdom Hearts 3, it's very clear that like Nomura wants Riku to be equally as important as Sora, but it's just not coming across that. It doesn't come across that way. I think, again, without saying specifics, I think Kingdom Hearts 3 really fails Riku as a character. But this is like his kind of this is like kind of like the end of his redemption arc, right? Where he's like, he falls to darkness. He's in this phase where he just doesn't feel worthy to have friends, worthy to be anybody, like all this stuff. And then he is the one that ends up triumphant at the end of the Mark of Mastery exam. He's the one that becomes the master, not Sora. And I really, really loved that for him. I just wish that like they could have worked it in a way that this was a Riku only game, because I think he deserves his own game. But I think that also with how long game dev takes nowadays, that opportunity is never going to happen again. There's no shot that there's going to be a Kingdom Hearts like a console PC released Kingdom Hearts game that's a Riku, that's just Riku. It's not going to happen. I think that opportunity has come and gone, and it is what it is. But that's just kind of
half
how
of it is for.
That's how I kind of feel about that. But yeah, the worlds in this game kind of rule. Like they remind me of Birth by Sleep worlds, except for a little bit bigger. There's kind of like a hybrid between Birth by Sleep and Kingdom Hearts 2. But the choice of worlds was very, very cool. I'm not crazy about Hunchback, but like I'm happy for my Hunchback guys. I thought the Tron Legacy world was like cool in the way of like, y'all are doing this.
Yeah,
the human models are cursed as fuck.
I was like, what?
Yeah, cursed. It's fucking cursed. The grid is cursed.
Yeah, it was shortly after Tron Legacy, and so they were like, we want to promote Tron Legacy. That's definitely why they decided to do that. I wasn't crazy about the design of, because I love the way that Sora's designed in Space Paranoids in Kingdom Hearts 2. Not a fan of how they look in this game with the visors, with the
oh yeah.
No thank you. No thank you. But I really liked that world in general. I liked how it was kind of a sequel to Space Paranoids, but not really. Like that was interesting with Sora. And then shout out to the Three Musketeers.
That was the best one. That was the best one. That was also
I disagree on that.
Oh, but I loved it because I really liked seeing in the previous games up until this point, like how some of the deep cuts that these games were doing when they were picking worlds, like the oh my god, Timeless River was like really incredible, and they were like, oh, that's the king before he became the king, which was like some wild bit of fucking lore there. And then Tron was in Kingdom Hearts 2, and I think at that point Tron had not been announced as like, hey, we're rebooting Tron after all of these years. My first exposure to Tron was Kingdom Hearts 2. I was 100%. Like, oh, what's this, Dad? Yep. And whatever. But it like I think that this was one of the last like, and then Hunchback I think is also a deep cut because Hunchback is not one of the big popular princess franchises, so it doesn't get as much attention.
I would agree. I see it does, but I think like it's well known, but of the '90s Renaissance, I think it is not considered like big. Like in that pantheon, it is not on the same level as Little Mermaid or Lion King or even Hercules.
Oh, definitely not. No, definitely not. Definitely
it also aged very poorly.
Yeah.
But I feel similarly, and like I guess I mean this in a kind way of like I kind of can't believe this world list, even if I don't love all of the like the practicality of Legacy and Tron Legacy and a couple of the others. The ones you all mentioned, and like Prankster's Paradise, like these are not like the most commercially viable list. I think especially when you look at the list for Kingdom Hearts 3, which I won't dive into, but is like very if you're waiting to play it, the whole, you can easily find out what all those worlds are.
Brand synergy.
Yeah, this is not that. This is not like, there was a Pinocchio movie they had to sell. There was a Three Musketeers was hot and coming back. Like it did feel a little bit more deep cut, which is what I loved about some of the world choices of 1 and 2. And I appreciated that they were all pretty distinct as well in that case.
Yeah, and we didn't talk about it, but the best world and one of the best worlds in the series in general is the Fantasia world. The Fantasia world.
Oh my god, so good!
It's absolutely incredible.
That was my favorite, dude. I was like, wow, this is a really. I was like, that was one of like my favorite like of the whole series, like straight up. Like I really enjoyed that. Yeah, that was a big highlight in this game.
Well done.
Yes, very
Very
cool.
big highlight. Yeah,
I really
very
love that.
cool.
And
Very cool.
I do actually want to circle back to this. The world ends with you, Slander, because that was cool. I like the world ends with you, and I think that it was like, if any game were to like kind of do something like that and implement those characters, even if it's in like Traverse Town, it's not like in Shibuya or whatever, I think this was the game to do that. And like with the Final Fantasy characters, I liked how they are kind of more mainstream, and they show up when they need to show up and things like that. But I liked how they kind of played with like, oh, this like, because for those that don't know, that haven't played The World Ends With You, you basically have like a partner in the game, and you have to like work together to complete these missions. And if you don't do it before the timer runs out on your hand, you die. And so it was cool how they were split up, where Beat and Rhyme were in separate worlds, and then Neku and I forgot the girl's name. I'm so sorry. They were in different worlds.
They're from.
And they had.
Oh, I didn't realize they're from another game. I had no idea.
Yeah, so they're from the original The World Ends With You.
Gotcha.
And so,
okay.
and just like, yeah, just getting the, and then Joshua was like in both worlds, because Joshua's kind of like this unknown entity where it's like, he's not a normal human, but you also don't know if he's like omnipotent. Like he kind of feels like this secret god character throughout the game. And so I think if you understood those characters a bit like more from the DS game, you would appreciate that part of the game more.
Yeah,
I mean, I did. Did you play it, Kevin? Did you play World Ends With You?
I didn't know that they were from a different game. I just thought I was kind of waiting for their plotline to, have a point. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess not. Okay, all right. Like, okay.
The other thing, I think I did not enjoy their integration, because I felt like their plot point, like they did not have a strong reason to be there. It was just like, oh, cool, World Ends With You characters in Traverse Town. I guess that makes sense. Nothing is going to beat the synergy of putting Orin in the underworld, though. Like that's the bar that we have to beat for character integration. And coming off of like having a new Final Fantasy character or some variant of a Final Fantasy character in all of the games, I know I went into this being like, I can't wait to see what Final Fantasy characters are in it. And it was not. And to me, again, like, let's say I was not, hardcore gamer. I was just into these games. I like Final Fantasy. I picked it up because it was Disney meets Final Fantasy, whatever. You go in, if you haven't played The World Ends With You, it's like, again, who are these people? And again, like the numbers on that game, like The World Ends With You didn't do the numbers that Final Fantasy does. So to me, it just felt like a weird, like it was a deep cut in a way that was not like for the people that weren't already intimately in with it. It wasn't really explained. Like even with all of these deep cut Disney worlds, you get a little bit of explanation and a little bit more setup for it. It was just like, all right, here are these characters in this world. And the other thing that made me feel weird about it is like that game is about death. Like that's a huge like theme and thing in it. And it just felt so weird to have these characters from this game that's about death in this game that's so this franchise that so flagrantly is just like, death isn't real. You just become a heartless and maybe also a nobody. Like there's like, it's weird. Like this death, the way that death exists in the Kingdom Hearts franchise is like weird and convoluted, because like Ansem the Wise is dead because he got blued up. But everyone else gets like multiple chances at life and multiple body snatching fractures. So
death in Kingdom Hearts is basically like when Nomura decides that he actually wants them dead.
There's only one character who's actually dead, and it's Ansem the Wise. That's it. He's the only character that's actually
I'm not gonna say the other character. I'm not gonna say the other character, but there is another character.
Don't say Aqua, bro.
And sorry. Nope. You know what? We're gonna wait till the end of 3 because I don't think I know who we're thinking of, and I'm not sure.
Okay, well it doesn't matter. We'll talk about when we get to 3. When we get to 3. But no, that's fair. I think my line of logic is that like I think for the three of us, when Birth by Sleep was coming out, like we were thinking that game was basically Kingdom Hearts 0, right? Just like it's Kingdom Hearts 0, it's just called Birth by Sleep. And so I still consider Birth by Sleep like the same level as like a Kingdom Hearts 1 or 2, even though you're not playing as Sora in that game. And so but with like Dream Drop, it didn't feel like, oh, this is Kingdom Hearts 2.5, 3 or whatever. Like this is another like side game like 358 or like, you know, and so it wasn't like that A tier kind of Kingdom Hearts game, I guess is the best way, in a sense of like the eventfulness, I guess is the best way to explain it. And so for me, and I see like The World Ends With You to be like a C tier kind of like franchise for Square Enix at this point, right? They've only released 2 games in 14 years, you know, and there probably won't be another one because Neo, which is a good game, I highly recommend people play it, didn't really sell super well. And so, and it is a Nomura, you know, the first game was Nomura's. And so I think that was just like him giving the opportunity to like put another one of his franchises into a game that doesn't have like super impact to share those characters, I guess is like
Capitalism.
My line of logic. Yeah. Yep, maybe. But yeah,
Can't wait to see Nier characters in Kingdom Hearts 4.
It's very possible. It's very possible. But yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Now let's talk about more about the flow motion and the Dream Eaters. We haven't talked about the Dream Eaters at all, and that whole system. Because I personally, especially replaying through it for like my 3rd or 4th time, they exist. Like I think like once you understand what that system, how that system works, you know, you can make new Dream Eaters if you want, but like you don't really need to. Like I think that it's pretty straightforward. Like there's obviously some skills that you can learn that are helpful. Like Balloon is busted in this game, just like OP magic in that game. So if you can get like those Dream Eaters that can just use Balloon and you can just spam Balloon over and over again, you get through this game really quick. I think I beat this game in less than 15 hours when this is like supposed to be like a 25 to 30 hour game, because I just spammed Balloon magic like throughout my entire time playing it mostly. And so it was a cool idea. You know, they were definitely trying to play it off of the, you know, the DS as a hardware, and they wanted you to be like, oh, you can use the stylus to pet the Dream Eaters and play with the Dream Eaters, and like that was cool. But like once you kind of get what it is, it's just like, all right, I don't like they get to level up faster, they gain experience, they gain their max HP, things like that. But I'm just like, I don't really need to do this, and it's just kind of there to waste time. I don't know. Jonathan, what are your thoughts on the Dream Eater stuff?
If you can't be Nintendogs, you shouldn't try to be Nintendogs. And I think, it's just that I still remember the golden retriever puppy that is abandoned somewhere on my DS that I loved to so much. I don't remember a single Dream Eater from my original play. I think it is one of those systems where, like, to your point, it's very clearly that was an idea that was on the original DS. People really loved it. I get the idea of trying to adapt it, maybe to Alexa's point of capitalism a little bit. Hey, if we create really cute original creatures, that's a good merch opportunity. Every Disney thing has a baby in it, so why don't we try these also cute, adorable animals in them? It's every time I felt like I felt like I was forcing myself to use the system, I guess, like to try out all that stuff of like taking care of them or use them more, other than, like to your point of figuring out how to spam balloon magic. Beyond that, the system doesn't feel like it needs to be engaged with on a deeper level. And I think that's my biggest disappointment, is like when a thing that is clearly meant to be core to this game, I don't feel like I really have to dig into or understand the complexities of. That's my biggest disappointment with it, because I think like I see where they thought the potential was, and I just don't think it lives up to that within the context of the experience.
Yeah.
So replacing replacing Donald and Goofy, who are so pivotal to like the emotional core of the series, with like a freaking Lisa Frank Zubat. Like you don't you can't do that. It's just you just lose. Why?
There was like,
it just doesn't make sense to me.
They're like, no, we're gonna stay back. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean y'all gonna stay back? What are you talking about? And then I don't think they're cute. I think they're pretty ugly.
Oh, the Meow Wow.
Lisa Frank colors.
I think they're very unsettling. No, I was not a fan of it.
Oh, bro. If you think they're unsettling.
Is there more unsettling stuff in Kingdom Hearts 3?
No, but in one of we haven't discussed Unchained or Kingdom Hearts like Union Cross yet.
I know what
and we have more. There's more to say about the Dream Eaters that will really unsettle you.
Wait, they're gonna come back?
Yeah, they had confusing them.
Not in gameplay.
Yeah,
not to the degree that is in 3.
But they're part of the franchise now. Like they really ran a bet on it, and I just like again like Jonathan, you said it was like a Pokemon like thing. Like in my review, I remember being like, or Nintendogs, I remember being like, this feels like they tried to like do a Pokemon thing where it's like, oh, here are like 50 Dream Eaters, collect them, and they have different powers, and you can like have them, and they're fun companions. And it was just, I would rather spend the next 20 hours screaming at Donald to heal me, knowing he won't again, than have these two, because at least the other two were effective in combat, fun in combat, and also I just felt like the like team up attacks and stuff were either super OP or the rest were like wildly weak. And there's just something missing when you're going through a game like this and like Donald and Goofy are not your companions. Like in Birth by Sleep, it was okay because we were like not with them. We had like other things going on, but like the fundamental Kingdom Hearts experience is like you're running around with those two, or you're running around with one of them, and the character of the world or something like that, and it just felt so empty.
Yeah, I really miss them. Yeah, but this took me 40 hours to beat. Half of it, no, like 17 hours was leading up to the whole game. Up until the last, what was like
4 bosses or something like that?
Yeah, it was 3 or 4 bosses that doubled my time. And then I went back and got a Dream Eater with balloon magic, as many people recommended to me. And we beat that.
And then you ran it again.
We beat it relatively no problem. Yeah,
he was giving like y'all.
Listen. Like,
he was calling me, and he's like, "Bro, I'm about to fucking destroy my controller." Like he was. I've never heard Kevin so mad.
There were some calls to Cam, not mad at him, just mad at the circumstances, just mad at the Chuck. Yo, no, and I grew up in a household where obviously, you don't throw your belongings. We're not doing that. At least growing up in my house, I spiked this controller. I spiked my controller. I honestly spiked my controller. And like, as I reflect, I don't know if it's a balancing issue with the game. I don't know how much I can put that into it, other than just, hey, I wasn't interfacing properly with the Dream Eater mechanic. It's in the game. This is what it is, and it didn't get me that far overall. Not interfacing with it on a deeper level than what I should have been, and by that, just get a balloon Dream Eater and you'll be fine. Yeah, you'll be fine. But fun times were had. Fun times. Also, I haven't talked about it, but that drop mechanic, I just want to know, have they... No. Look. I'm willing to be wrong. I'm willing to be open to my horizons, but what was what's the why? What's the vision of the drop mechanic? Have they discussed that? Has that been said? Is there an inherent reason for this? I'll let anyone answer, please. Just is there a reason for the drop mechanic and why is it there?
It's meant to prevent you from. It's meant to try and keep the pacing even between playing as Sora, playing as Riku, but also like keeping their stories like on track. Like it's meant to be a mechanic that forces pacing, but the pacing of the game's story was already not great, and so adding the drop system onto this just makes the pacing feel so much more painful than it could be. And the game is also setting you up for like, you know, towards the end, Sora has his moment of weakness and Riku has to save him, and you're forced to play as Riku. So for example, if you are only playing as Sora and maybe you're not powering up Riku, you get to this point in the game and it's like, oh, so they had to devise a system that, yeah, well, no, not in this, because they prevented that from happening in the way that they structured it with the drop system. Like you never had a choice of like, you don't pick who to play as and then go do the world. It's the same thing that they did in Birth by Sleep, albeit messily with a forced switch where each character has a different experience in the world. It just was not implemented very well. I definitely found myself in like, there was that one item that you had, and if you had it was a consumable, and if you had it, you could cancel the drop.
Yes.
But I found myself without that item in so many instances. Like I remember very specifically being in the Hunchback of Notre Dame boss fight, the final boss fight, and the drop system kicked in, and I was like, whoever fucking designed this should not have allowed this to happen, because what's going to happen is I'm going to get kicked out of this boss fight. I'm going to be somewhere else. I'm going to be fucking furious playing as Sora angrily for the next however long until the drop kicks back in. And then when I go back to the Hunchback of Notre Dame, I have to restart this with Riku. And it was just why it's infuriating, and it's also hugely disrespectful to your player and the progress they're making.
For sure.
So it's like,
I want to hear
I hated it.
For sure. I want to hear from Jonathan next. But what I kept doing, which I guess the intent was just naturally, whenever it kicks you out, you just go to the opposite person, I'm assuming, right? What I kept doing was I was doing world by world, but I kept redropping and going back to Riku or Sora, right? So I was waiting until I completed the entire world with that character, then going back from the top and then doing Sora's part or Riku's part, etc. Regardless of if it dropped me, I would just redrop as the other character. Like I was just picking menus and I was getting like 0 rewards, whatever. But I was like, screw it. Like, no, like I want to finish his story first and then I'll go to the other one. Like I don't want to go back and forth mid-level while I'm doing it, you know? But
to Alexa's point, you shouldn't have to be doing that.
No, I mean,
that shouldn't have to be on the player to. Yes, for sure, and
for sure.
Yeah, I think I'm totally with Alexa in terms of like it feels like it is in the solve to keep Sora and Riku's stories together. I guess you could also make an argument that it also helps divvy up your play
with the 3DS
experience. Yeah, so it's like because it's handheld, they might think you're in for shorter experiences. So maybe if you're forced out, it's like, okay, well, I only had so much time to play in my handheld anyway. I don't think that's a real use case necessarily, but I know that like sometimes that goes into mobile or handheld game design for sure. So it could have been part of the idea there. But yeah, I was never a fan of it. I think, honestly, you saying that, Alexa, I think opened up a memory of like my first playthrough. I remember being at a boss fight. I don't know if it was that world, but I remember being in a boss fight and having the drop start. And I was like, what is this? Why is this a part of this? And it is unnecessarily frustrating. And if they wanted to make sure you were keeping pace with each character's story, I do think it is that thing of like, okay, you complete it with one character, you go to the next character and you play the world that way. Would have kept up that pacing and I wouldn't have minded as much.
Because they're not even that long. Yeah. Like, it's not that long.
Yeah.
Like, we're not even talking about a crazy amount of time. We're talking 45.
30, 40 minutes. Yeah, 30, 40 minutes.
At the max. Like, you know? But yeah, no. Definitely in boss fights for it to be a in-game mechanic that gives you a fail state for a boss and you have to start over because of nothing that you did. Like, it was just playing too long. I don't know. Whatever. Like, I don't know. Oh no.
You know, like I think that if you ask any, like I think everyone will agree, like the very first thing someone will criticize about Dream Drop Distance is the drop system. The drop system, like that is what everyone talks about.
Such an odd choice.
Odd choice. And yeah, like I see the logic of thinking of this type of idea, but it's also but when you think after that at any point, it's just like, oh no, this is stupid. Why are we doing this? Especially because like once you have to go to Traverse Town the second time, you have to wait for the other character to catch up. You have to like do the first set of worlds.
Oh, I didn't
as
know
both
that.
characters before you can continue with Traverse Town the second time. And so yeah, that's a weird thing that they did. But yeah, I think that's kind of it. I think we just kind of want to go over kind of what are the big key points to talk about going into not just point 2 and back cover, but Kingdom Hearts 3. So like we know that there's going to be some sort of battle, 13 darknesses, seven light. We got Lee popping out a Keyblade. How? Who knows? Because Nomura wanted him to. And then Yensid is like, "Yo, Riku, go get Kairi, so I can train her to be a Keyblade wielder." And that's like the last thing we see, as we go into Kingdom Hearts 3, which at the time was really exciting. And that's all I'm going to say on the matter. Going into Kingdom Hearts 3 about Kairi. But yeah, so that's kind of it on Dream Drop Distance. Does anyone want any final thoughts on Dream Drop?
Yeah, man. I appreciate some aspects of the combat. You know, I like seeing my boy Riku shine a little bit. You know what I'm saying? A lot of bit, actually. You know. But yeah, no, definitely not my favorite game in the series. But you know, we press on, we move on. Very deliberate. I really like how, like, even back in 2013, which there was development issues for Kingdom Hearts 3, right? Like, it wasn't supposed to come out in 2019, or was that naturally just the plan? Like,
it changed engines. It changed engines mid-development. Yeah.
So I bet
they were engines.
Yeah. So I bet they were expecting this to maybe be like a 2017, 2016 Kingdom Hearts 3, right? Or am I thinking about it too aggressive?
I believe Kingdom Hearts 3 was revealed in 2015.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
I want to say.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it was
they announced it at
2013.
Oh, they did?
2013 because
it was E3
we were
2013.
At Polygon.
Yeah.
I
remember.
We were at Polygon.
Interning them. Yeah.
It got announced that early?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
it was that teaser trailer, and
that was when it was the re-reveal. 13. It was man, pour one out.
Yeah.
Versus 13. Literally, man, if I could play one game that never happened, it would be Versus 13, y'all. It would be Versus 13.
It
was basically, Kevin, just think Final Fantasy, but a Kingdom Hearts game.
Though.
No, that's not the same vision. You know it's not the same vision. I like Final Fantasy 15. I like Final Fantasy 15.
I'm not talking about 15. I'm not
talking Oh.
Kevin will find out soon.
Yeah. But like,
oh wait, it's in Kingdom.
No. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I'm not saying that, but you'll find out soon.
You'll find out soon. But all I'm saying is, like, man, I don't think outside of a Kingdom Hearts game, I don't think I've ever been more excited for a video game than Final Fantasy Versus 13. And then that game did not end up being what it was initially planned out to be. Yeah, so that's it. That's all on Dream Drop Distance. Thanks everyone for listening. Next episode is going to be on Kingdom Hearts Point 2, Birth by Sleep, A Fragmentary Passage, which is in the 2.8 collection. Now on Steam, by the way. It's been so long. Kingdom Hearts is on Steam now.
True.
Square Enix was kind enough to send me a code of all the games. And so I played I've played some stuff on the Steam version. I'm not really a PC gamer, but y'all, this is the definitive way to play those games. They up-resed the visuals compared to the console versions. 120 FPS. It's real good. It's a real good way to play Kingdom Hearts. So if you are, I don't know why, like, this isn't the first episode, so you're probably going to be like, oh, I wish you said this in the first episode. But if you ever decide to replay through Kingdom Hearts, I recommend the Steam version. Very good. But that's it, y'all. Point 2, Fragmentary Passage, and then back cover. We're going to do both of them in one episode because there's not a whole lot to talk about in either of them. And then we're going to hop into Kingdom Hearts 3. But that's everything, y'all. I hope y'all have a good one. And until next time, may your heart be your guiding key.